The Fate series has impressively remained prominent since its 2004 debut, with countless references across multiple mediums, from the beloved origins and later iterations of Fate Stay Night to the free-to-play giant that is Fate Grand Order. The franchise is a cornerstone of anime culture. Still, parts of its identity are comparatively obscure, like the lesser-known direct sequel to Fate Stay Night, Fate Hollow Ataraxia. Like Fate Stay Night, the 2005 visual novel was never officially localized even across its many console ports. Now, Type Moon has given this veiled sequel a surprise remaster, and I was thrilled to revisit it under a new lens. My first experience with Fate Hollow Ataraxia made it my favorite entry in the franchise, and after retracing its multifaceted depths, my affection for this bold installment has only grown. So let's look at why in this review.
我がごと罪汚れあらむおば払えたまえ清めたまえと申すこときこしめせとかしこみ申す
First, it's important to say that the detailed setup of Fate Hollow Ataraxia is a spoiler on its own. The simplest way to actually describe the narrative is that it defies common sense. It's a fan disc that also acts as a sequel to all three routes of the original Fate Stay Night, those being Fate, Unlimited Blade Works, and Heaven's Feel, concurrently. Practically every servant, master, and supporting character is in Fuyuki City half a year after the Fifth Holy Grail War, regardless of which route interpretations they lived through. This status quo is surprisingly lax and peaceful, with a comical slice of life coding laid over the top, at least during the daytime. How and why is this the case? Well, that's the mystery that is the core hook, and the way that the story approaches it is what makes the experience compelling. Rather than hammering you with how strange this situation is, the writing pokes fun at the oddities and often treats them as ordinary, which creates a constant, quiet sense of dread that runs through the playtime. Making matters stranger is the presumed revival of the Holy Grail War and the arrival of new major characters. Alongside returning faces like protagonist Shiro Emiya, there's Bazett Fraga McRemitz of the Mages Association, the enigmatic 8th servant of the Avenger class, alongside the church member Caren Hortensia. These newcomers fundamentally shake up Fuyuki, and they are among the best written in the series. The specifics, though, are best experienced in real time, but the initial engagement stems from the lack of overt, clear-cut direction. Why is Bazett dealing with a particular impairment, and to what end? What motivates the sickly, sinister Caren, and what exactly is going on in the mind of the new servant? The story handles these questions at a careful distance, so that each implied revelation and strengthened suspicion leads to more impact. Structure-wise, Fate Hollow Ataraxia is a drastic departure, where Fate Stay Night is primarily linear with choices that branch into bad ends or major paths. Hollow Ataraxia uses a world map. You live through a 4-day cycle. Specific characters appear at certain times and precise locations. Selecting their icons leads to events that often are a slice of life in nature. These scenes make up the primary appeal, letting fans see new sides of the cast or expansions of characterizations that didn't have time to shine during Stay Night. This renewed focus touches almost everyone, including writer, caster, Lancer, and Ilya, who lacked the luxury in Stay Night of showing what their ordinary day-to-days would be like. Impressively, Hollow Ataraxia makes these daily life segments feel genuine without allowing the darkness of the nighttime scenarios to eclipse their warmth. Dates and special events embrace this lightheartedness and give the entry a layer of feels wholly different from its grim, coarse story. But at night, you can have Shiru traverse Fuyuki for clues about the resumption of the war, and this is rarely a cheerly endeavor. You can also fast forward to later in the cycle when no new events are available, so there's little wasted time here. Progression is gated by flags, which require viewing certain character scenes to move forward in the core plot. This is rarely perplexing in practice, as the game provides a clear hint when you hit a dead end, and mandatory events are marked with an exclamation point. The design distinguishes Hollow Ataraxia from other series entries and gives the time loops added weight. That said, you can get stuck without obvious indicators depending on the order that you choose. One commonly overlooked point involves the 4th day's outskirts flag. If you fail and quit the minigame there to reach the new map area, an indicator won't appear as subsequent cycles, so keep that in mind. Beyond structure, Fate Hollow Ataraxia Remastered boasts 16:9 resolutions, expanded CGs, and 5 minigames. However, sadly, it doesn't include Capsule Servant, which was actually excluded from the Vita version, keeping this release from being truly definitive. Still, the minigames were supplemental novelties at best. Capsule Servant received its own standalone mobile release in Japan and is more extensive than the rest of these offerings. The quiz minigame is pretty self-explanatory. The chibi action assault on Ilia's castle is mostly there for comedy. Hanafuda is also available if you enjoy that pastime, but most significant is the shrine, where you can spend currency earned from multiple avenues of progression, including story, to purchase concept illustrations that feature in-character dialogue from Rin, Archer, and Saber. This feature can provide replay value if you want to hunt for everything. Between the collectible arts and the steady unlocks across loops, there's a satisfying drip feed that encourages repeat visits. For those who experienced Fate's Day Night, Fate Hollow Ataraxia is a must-play accompaniment. It acts as a relatively brief epilogue that is wholly distinct from its source while respecting its strengths and ambitions. Its balance of cozy daytime vignettes and uneasy nighttime inquiry highlights a range that the original only hinted at, and fans get to spend quality time with favorites who didn't receive the same spotlight before. Perhaps this is nostalgia speaking, but Fate Hollow Ataraxia feels like a visual novel that shouldn't exist. When I think about modern Type Moon, I think of the classic entries that set the stage, and I also think of the clear emphasis on Fate Grand Order. A Fate story like Hollow Ataraxia, one that is boldly layered and compact as only a visual novel with no free-to-play strings attached, feels almost too good to have been real. It's the kind of work that trusts the audience to piece things together and sit with lingering uncertainty rather than chase constant exposition. And this is why I'm so grateful for the release of Fate Hollow Ataraxia Remastered. It represents an age that has passed and may not return, but it lets me bask in the era of Type Moon that immersed me so thoroughly and so beautifully. There's a definite melancholy to that reality, but it's a welcome feeling to embrace now and then. In revisiting this remaster release, I am reminded why this world and its characters have endeared me for so long. The tone may shift from gentle comedy to eerie unease from one hour to the next, yet the through line is a love for these characters and ideas that still feels rare. Noisy Pixel is giving Fate Hollow Ataraxia Remastered a 9.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth, and subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.